So let this be a lesson to Truscott. As I said last week, he went too far with that isekai attempt, and I think the walking apocalypse that was Mob, who that bouquet of flowers has seen some shit after this episode, because should you destroy it, you probably will be able to get him to calm down, but the fact that he was so determined to go confess his love, whatever happens would happen, and then to get hit by a truck, to just see that all that negative energy overwhelm him to the point that even when he recognizes what Teru's doing, he can't stop himself. Truscott better take note that there are some characters you do not want to mess with, and I think Mob in Mob Psycho 100 is definitely one of the biggest people that you should never attempt to isekai, and we see the results, that being Mob Psycho Season 3 turning into more or less a horror anime, and I don't think that's an exaggeration. It's not like it was 5 or 10 minutes of the episode where Mob looked like a demon walking, his hair completely up. It just felt like if there was ever an anime that made it feel like there was an apocalypse about to destroy the world, that is the body of this little teenager Mob, who is literally destroying everything in his path just to get to the park to confess. I mean, just imagining like him actually getting there and her sitting on the bench, recognizing that it's most likely Mob, like, is that going to be the way he breaks out of it? I don't know, but I mean, if you watched the preview of last week after him getting hit by the truck, you did see this form. So it wasn't a surprise, probably for a lot of people, that something like this would happen, but I could understand if people did want to go into this one blind after last week saying, I don't know what's coming next, but let's see. But seemingly the final boss of Mob Psycho is actually Mob himself, which I didn't really anticipate initially into this season. I was kind of expecting there would just be another character similar to like the Dimple arc. But I think it's kind of brilliant when you think about it more and more that the whole Dimple confrontation and the whole Psycho Helmet religion, that's the typical conflict you're kind of expecting, and then they get you with that emotional Dimple goodbye, to then seeing Mob's emotions explode in the way that they just did, all because he was trying to cross the road to confess his love before she moves away. And what an episode. I mean, Teru has really grown into being one of my favorite characters in Mob Psycho, which honestly, if I compare my thoughts when he was initially introduced, didn't really think too much of it, but that rival scene at the end, I mean, it's kind of funny on one hand, but it's badass and sad on the other. But if you think of like The Simpsons and like Krusty the Clown, like how his hair kind of like removes on the top part, it's kind of how he looked at the end, but it was a mixture of like comedy clown / badass aura, because he was just absolutely ripped and just completely saving the day, because without him, how many hundreds of people would have been killed there? Honestly, probably all of them. So just to see him like not give up, and the fact that in the face of so much destruction, he was smiling the whole time, because he's like, I'm average, you're average, we got this, Mob. And no matter what Mob threw at him, he felt like the best friend you need no matter what happens. Like, everyone needs that one person who, when shit hits the fan, no matter how bad it gets, they will tell you with a straight face, everything will be okay. Even if they don't actually believe it, they know you need to hear it because of how crushed you are. And even after he got tossed, it felt like miles away, and landed on a building. I thought his spine was broke, and he still got up and was like, I'm your rival. And just to see the emotion from this man, for honestly, being a one-sided conversation, most of the dialogue came from Teru, because Mob obviously didn't speak up until we got a little bit of his internal psyche. So the fact that you had such an emotional conversation with only one man speaking for the most of it, and to see him get progressively more and more damaged to the point that I was convinced that Truscott was going to make another guest appearance. He said, damn it, if I can't have Mob, I'm going to have Teru, because just everything about it gave me major red flags. Now, this time I didn't watch the preview because, unlike last week, with the whole holy shit, did they actually just isekai my boy Mob, I didn't feel the need to, necessarily see some extra content just yet. So I'm going into next week completely blind. But I definitely don't know how you end this, right? Because here's the thing. Mob coming back to his normal self seems like a given, you would assume. So say that happens. The destruction's there. People are recognizing Mob's most likely the one behind it. Reagan for sure knows. You have the convenience store stuff at the end, which I thought was a little funny and a great way to relieve tension. Everything's getting destroyed. They're arguing about product. I'm not going to sell an expired rice ball. And then they come out with tongs to attack our boy Mob. It feels like there's going to be a lot of people who recognize what's happened. I mean, they end the episode with someone jumping without a parachute, about to completely try to kill Mob anyway. So should he break free and not actually kill people, it's just the destruction of the city, does he get away scot-free? Is the blame passed to someone else? I honestly don't know. Like, it feels like there could be some emotion at the end of this season, and I mean, given the emotion we've seen over seasons 2 and 3 now between Regan and Dimple, I mean, Mob's story is coming to an end. It's just, I wasn't quite expecting it to go as hard as it is with this type of dilemma with his own internal psyche. And I think if you look at the show with how it started out, it kind of started with this one-sided crush, a girl who showed no interest towards Mob, and Mob clearly was just completely, he thinks he's in love with her. And now we're ending with that same dilemma, causing this spiral to happen because something interrupted it and his emotions flared up to that degree. And I think the only way that I can see Mob getting over it is if he can deal with something that's so negative that makes him just say it's okay. And I think the denial of her saying, I'm not in love with you, I apologize, it happens. People have that one-sided love. It doesn't make her a bad person. It doesn't make her a shitty person. It just means the feelings Mob has for her doesn't necessarily mean she'll have the same feelings for Mob. And if that's the direction they're going, I think it would be an incredibly powerful way to wrap this show up, with Mob getting denied, maybe even in this form, and then that breaking him and saying, you know what, that it sucks, but thanks for, at least telling me, so he doesn't have to live his life wondering, what if I would have confessed? Would I have been the one being able to marry her, right? And that kind of feels like the direction they're going, but it almost feels like there's still some sucker punches left, and I can't quite put my finger on where they're gonna go, but that's kind of the beauty of the Mob Psycho's story, is that you kind of have an idea of where things go at any particular moment, but there's always at least 3 or 4 extra steps that kind of like elevate it into that masterclass quality that honestly only one could write, and I really can't love his work enough between One Punch Man and Mob Psycho. Like, when it came to the overall production, they nailed it. It really felt like a walking apocalypse. The shaking, the glow, the almost like, it just felt like something pulled right from hell, right? When you look at Mob in so many of these scenes, it's not even just like the close-ups of the face, it's just the shadowy presence, the fiery atmosphere. Everything about it just felt like you could feel the tension, you could feel the earth shattering around. And, the fact that they didn't go overblown with the whole shaky cam, because, like, people are talking like, oh shit, looks like there's earthquakes, and you can see, like, trees are snapping, buildings are falling apart. But they didn't go overboard where, like, the camera was jittering all over, but there was enough constantly to make it feel like, goddamn, this shit gotta be intense for these characters, even ignoring the visual element. You can tell the type of almost sound waves that are going through them, and those are the details that really helped elevate this episode. And honestly, like I've been saying ever since season 3 kicked off, I had a feeling this could be the best season of Mob Psycho. It started off slower, but it really started to ramp up to the point where this show is actually going to end with every season of Mob Psycho getting progressively better and being one of anime's best series, period. Like, that's not an exaggeration. No one can convince me otherwise. 3 seasons of just pure excellence, and I can't thank Bones for doing the show with this much justice and quality enough, because this is a masterpiece. But of course, I'll pass the torch over to everyone. What did you think of Mob Psycho 100 Season 3, Episode 10? We got 2 episodes left to go before this is all over, and I'm excited to see where it goes, but let me know your feelings down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. You can also consider supporting the Patreon. I got a bunch of live reaction videos going on over there, and you can also get video shoutouts like a few are about to get here. So we got slimshadyone, Darion Smith, and rogueknight. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. Have a good one.